I've spent just over a week daily driving the new Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7 in both New York and back home here in Manchester. Oh, and by the way, if you are considering buying one, you can use the link below to grab the 512GB model for the price of the 256, plus up to $1,200 in extra savings. And after 1 week, I am genuinely impressed. And that's coming from someone who's daily driven every Galaxy Fold, from the original all the way to the Fold 6. Plus devices like the Oppo Find N5, the OnePlus Open, the Honor Magic V2, V3, the ultra-thin Magic V5, and the Google Pixel Fold and Pixel 9 Pro Fold. And out of all of these, the Fold 7 is my favorite foldable yet. But it's not perfect. It's got 3 main problems, but the thickness ain't one. Also, this video is sponsored by Bitdefender. Okay, so let me address the 3 problems first, and then I'll tell you all about what I really love about it. Okay, so the first and biggest problem is by far the outdoor visibility. This phone gets hot, like very hot. In New York's 34-degree heat, taking photos and recording videos made this display dim to about 10% brightness, barely even visible, even when I had the extra brightness enabled. Everyone in my Samsung group had this exact same issue, by the way, except for someone using the Fold 6. And I think this is all to do with the new cooling system. Some online reports suggested that Samsung removed the vapor chamber entirely, although Samsung says that they replaced it with a high-density graphene sheet covering twice the area instead. However, vapor chambers usually cool better, like the S25 Ultras, unlike the iPhone 16 Pro Maxes, which also overheats quickly due to its graphene-only sheet. But if you keep your Fold mostly pocketed, only occasionally taking quick photos or checking social media, you should be fine. It dims significantly after about 2 minutes of continuous usage in direct sunlight. Also, if you download Samsung's Good Lock app and then you use the new display system module, you may be able to maintain a higher brightness level when hot, although I haven't personally tested this much due to the recent UK weather. My second issue is the 3x telephoto, which is pretty poor. Since we got that pretty impressive 200-megapixel main sensor and then also an updated 12-megapixel ultra-wide with larger sensor, which is actually fairly decent, the only module that remains severely outdated is that 3x telephoto module, which is not only very low resolution at just 10 megapixels, but it's also got a crazy tiny sensor, 1/3.94 inches, even smaller than the infamously small sensor on the Pixel 9 Pro Fold at 1/3.2 inches. But of course, that one has a 5x optical zoom lens, so it is overall noticeably better. Which means that in daytime, you won't get a lot of zoom range. 3 to 5x is kind of the maximum you can get while still having a good quality. And then at night, it's going to look extremely muddy. But just take a look at these photos that I took of Jaden and Willow Smith performing at the Samsung event. Since the sensor is so tiny, it has to expose for longer. And because Jaden and Willow were, of course, moving, most of these photos that I took are extremely blurry. So yeah, I'm disappointed that Samsung didn't use a more advanced telephoto module like Honor did with their 64-megapixel 3x 1/2-inch sensor. That's almost twice as big as the Fold 7 one, as I think the results do speak for themselves here. The good news is that unlike the Honor Magic V5, the camera module is significantly less bulky, and since it's also off to the side, it doesn't get in the way of me using the Fold when closed, whereas the Honor's camera bump does make it very difficult and uncomfortable to hold. However, that side-mounted camera module on the Fold 7 does cause one major issue: a lot of table wobble. It's definitely the most table wobble I've ever seen on a phone, since the camera module is still thick, almost as thick as the entire phone when closed. Of course, a case would simply solve this issue, although at the expense of thickness. So these are my 3 complaints with the Fold 7. The outer visibility, the 3x telephoto module, and that very significant table wobble. Now, before I move on to what I really love about the Fold 7, I should probably address one complaint that a ton of you guys have, and that is the lack of the S Pen. Look, I'm not really a S Pen user myself. On the Ultra, I used it maybe once or twice for some furniture sketches, and on the Fold, I basically never did. Even though the Fold was better for using an S Pen thanks to its much larger screen, it never really had the S Pen built in. You had to carry it separately or use this bulky case, so I just never bothered. But I totally get why people are upset that Samsung removed the S Pen support from the Fold 7. Like, removing features from a new pricier model is never good. Plus, Samsung's competitors like Oppo and Honor, they both managed to keep pen support despite being just as thin, or even thinner. Plus, they even support pens on both screens. So yeah, not an issue for me personally, but I can see why a lot of people would be upset. But other than this 3 plus 1 bonus negative, I don't really have much bad stuff to say about it. Okay, maybe that new inner camera, which I do think Samsung should have placed in the top right corner rather than the middle, but other than that, pretty impressed with the Fold 7 so far. Okay, now earlier I mentioned Bitdefender, our sponsor for today's video, and that's because online threats are becoming more and more prevalent. To break it down, nowadays the chances of experiencing a cybersecurity incident are very high, with 1 in 4 people experiencing an incident in the past year, with these being most common on mobile devices, as surveyed by Bitdefender, where 78% of users conduct sensitive transactions without any mobile security solution in place. So, what can you do? Well, it's actually quite simple. Bitdefender Premium Security is an all-in-one plan that includes a comprehensive suite of tools for all of your devices. Their Bitdefender mobile security app can alert you to the latest scams, provide SMS protection, and even more. Plus, the plan has Scam Copilot built in, which is your AI-powered scam shield. So if you're looking for a super versatile solution which can protect you from online threats and online scams, whether that's in messaging apps, calendar invites, or mobile app URLs, then you can keep all of your devices protected with Bitdefender by using the links below. To start your free 90-day extended trial today. And this brings me, of course, to the good. And I want to start off with the battery life. I was actually not expecting this, but the Fold 7's battery is actually really good, despite it being one of the smallest battery on a foldable today, at just 4,400 mAh battery, as opposed to close to 6,000 like on its Chinese competitors, all of which, by the way, do use silicon carbon, unlike Samsung, although this is rumored to finally come next year. Yet, despite all of this, I ended my days with around 25% battery left, and this was, by the way, with medium to high usage. In comparison, the S25 Edge ended the day at 20% with light to medium usage. It's still not quite as good as the Oppo Find N5, which ended the day at roughly 35% with similar usage, but I would say, considering the battery size, I'm actually very impressed. And I'm also positively impressed with the main camera. I've taken a number of photos during my trip to Samsung Unpacked in New York, and overall it was a very similar experience to using my S25 Ultra, at least when it came to that main module. The photos were sharp with quite a lot of detail even when I was just using the 12 megapixel mode. The colors were natural, and because of this pretty large sensor, 1/1.3 inches, I also got quite a lot of natural depth of field without the need to use portrait mode. And of course, if you're in a situation with a lot of light, you can switch to the 200 megapixel mode and get a ton of details from your shots. Just take a look at this graffiti shot here. The level of detail once you zoom in is just incredible. Plus, since this is a foldable, unlike the S25 Ultra and the S25 Edge, you can actually use that main 200 megapixel camera to take selfies too, while framing yourself in that outer screen, which just looks super, super impressive. So yeah, very happy to see that we've got a true flagship camera in a Samsung Fold. But by far, my favorite thing about a Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7 is definitely how it feels on the hand. This is easily the best foldable I've held. It's super thin, 4.2 millimeters when open, 8.9 when closed, so almost matching the Honor Magic V5, but without that massive camera bump in the way of you holding it. Plus, at just 215 grams, this is the world's lightest foldable, so it just feels fantastic to hold. By the way, the wallpapers you see in these shots are from our Gradient Glow Pack in our app Wallpapers, which is free to download. On top of this, the hinge feels great. It's actually less stiff than the Fold 6 is, but it is still sturdier than the Oppos and the Honors. The only downside is that the body scratches very easily, especially if you wear something like a Galaxy Ring like I do. My iPhone did scratch similarly, but my Oppo Find N5 didn't due to its harder back texture. So, in conclusion, should you buy the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7? Well, I would say if you're looking for a foldable, this is the best one that you can buy. It's not perfect, the battery could be bigger and silicon carbon, the telephoto module could be better, same for the ultrawide, but here's the thing, the Fold 7 is overall the best foldable package on the market. The Oppo Find N5 is great, but you cannot buy it outside of China. Then the Honor Magic V5 is even thinner with great cameras and a better battery life than the Fold 7, but its software experience isn't great. Then the Pixel 9 Pro Fold has great software, a great telephoto, but it's noticeably thicker and heavier than the Fold 7. The Fold 7, however, has amazing software, great cameras overall, and a super thin design that's also lightweight. And the best part? You can just buy it anywhere. So go ahead and buy it if you're into foldables. I highly recommend it. And if you use the link below, you can get the 512GB version, by the way, for the price of the 256, plus up to $1,200 in extra savings. And also subscribe if you want to see a video on the Flip 7 as well. I'm Daniel, this is ZONEofTECH, and I'll see you guys in the next one. ZONEofTECH, signing out. Cheers.